Let's get
just
into
announced
it.
he will pause the 25% tariffs
I'll be back in a
on
second.
Mexican imports. We have reporters in Mexico City and in the North Lawn of the White House.
I'm glad that he's at least putting a pause on it, and it was just him being fucking. He was doing like what is it, the madman theory or whatever. He was behaving Nixonian like. So he's putting a pause on the tariffs. Oh, I'm pausing them. It didn't make any sense. Oh.
Let's go straight to CNN's Valeria Leon in Mexico City for the latest. Valeria, midnight was the deadline here where tariffs were supposed to be implemented. They're not now. Why?
So in a surprising shift, tariffs on Mexican goods are now on pause after President Sheinbaum and President Trump reached an agreement. So rather than presenting today Mexico's response to the Trump administration tariffs, President Sheinbaum confirmed that she had a conversation with President Trump this morning, what she described as a long call of 45 minutes to talk about immigration issues and the interest that both countries have in reducing fentanyl consumption. Both governments reached an agreement to secure the border. Mexico has agreed on deploying National Guards to the Mexico-U.S. border, and the Mexican president said that she asked Trump to cancel tariffs on Mexican products, which Sheinbaum said that Trump agreed to. Mexico's economy minister, Marcelo Ebrard, will be in charge of this negotiation with U.S. government officials. Let's put the tariffs on pause forever. That's what Mexico's president suggested to Trump this morning, but they agreed to pause tariffs for 1 month. Part of the agreement, she explained, has to do with the U.S. government committing to reducing the traffic arms into Mexico.
Valeria Leon, thanks so much. I want to turn to CNN's Kevin Liptak, who joins me now from the North Lawn at the White House. Kevin, there was also a call with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau this morning. We haven't heard of any pause there, but there is supposed to be another one this afternoon. Is this just a bilateral Mexico-U.S. thing, or do we expect another pause also applying to the Canadians?
Yeah, at this point, this only applies to Mexico. And I'll tell you, after that phone call with Justin Trudeau, officials I talked to on the Canadian side were not all that optimistic about a last-minute reprise from these tariffs. But of course, they have scheduled up this follow-up conversation at 3 p.m. Eastern time. And it, remains to be seen whether Trump will extend the same 1 month pause on those 25% tariffs on Canada as he did on Mexico. One thing that we've heard from officials this morning is that the negotiations with the Mexicans that occurred throughout the weekend were going much better than the conversations were going with the Canadians. We heard that from Kevin Hassett, one of the top economists here at the White House earlier this morning. Now, I think the big question is whether or not this is a huge surprise. We did hear from Donald Trump just last night that he didn't expect anything dramatic to come out of these telephone calls. But on the other hand, look at those numbers on the screen. The stock market, at one point, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was down almost 600 points this morning. Donald Trump is attuned to nothing more than the stock market. And I think there was a sense, at least among some of his outside allies, that he was looking for an off-ramp here. Now, one of the big questions in this tariff battle is what exactly Trump was looking for from Canada and Mexico. That had been a point of extreme frustration among Canadian and Mexican officials. What quantifiable metric did he want to see them take in order to ease off these tariffs? Just on Friday, a delegation of Canadian officials was here at the White House meeting with Donald Trump's border czar. They were supposed to meet around 4 p.m. Donald Trump at 4 p.m. says he wasn't looking for any concessions. So there was an incredible amount of confusion. Today, this morning, I think we are getting a good idea of what he's looking for, which is troops on the border, 10,000 troops on the border that Mexico says it will send to try and cut down on those fentanyl flows.
We'll see what Canada offers in their negotiations. Obviously, 10% tariffs also on China. No indication right now of any calls there. Kevin Liptak, Valeria Leon, thanks so much. It is important to note that tariffs, as I noted, on China and Canada have not been paused, at least at this moment. That might explain some of the market reaction. We've seen a pop, but not an entirety of a turnaround. CNN business correspondent Vanessa Yurkevich joins me now. Do we expect a complete rebound here?
I think investors are being cautiously optimistic. This news, obviously, of this pause on tariffs with Mexico has encouraged investors, and you've seen markets goods recovered just a little bit. They were down almost 2%, all of them, earlier this morning. But we've seen a pop. We've seen a recovery. But if you look at specific stocks, specific industries that were expected to be targeted with these tariffs, you see a mix. You see General Motors down over 2%. You see 3M, which is manufacturing, down about 1%. And Constellation Brands, this is a company, an alcohol company that imports and exports from around the world. You see them still down over 2%. So investors still feeling a little bit shaky about whether or not tariffs will also be paused with Canada and Mexico, two of our key trading partners. As it stands right now, tariffs are set to go into effect with Canada, 25%, and about 10% with China. And the goods that are going to be impacted for everyday Americans, you see it right there: grain, livestock, sugar, fertilizer, lumber, oil and gas, only going to be targeted at about a 10% tariff coming in from Canada. And then from China, electronics, home appliances, toys, and footwear. Americans, we buy about 50% of our footwear from China, so that's a significant amount. So we are waiting to see what happens. And of course, Phil, retaliatory tariffs happen. We've already heard from Canada that they're expecting to retaliate with 25% tariffs against.
He was just memeing, dude. He was just memeing. Y'all don't understand. It was just meme style. He's just a little guy. He just wanted to look. Nazi Germany, post World War I, feeling slighted by the rest of the Western world, right? The economy's in the pooper. Very different set of circumstances where they can set up an agenda that they've been wronged by everyone else and that they're a powerful and mighty nation. The United States of America, albeit suffering a little bit due to its own selfish nature, is in a very different circumstance as the hegemonic superpower. So when you make the argument that like all of the other international countries are screwing us over, we are the ones that are constantly being screwed over by everybody else, and that's why we must take action against this sort of thing, you're in an entirely different predicament, because the entirety of the global trade is designed in a way that benefits you, okay? The entirety of global trade benefits the United States of America. It's like complaining about NATO, which Donald Trump does all the time as well. It makes no sense. Why would you complain about NATO when NATO is there for you? It's stupid. That's my point. Here's the Canada call that just came in as well. Just had a good call with President Trump. Canada's implementing our $1.3 billion border plan, reinforcing the border with new choppers, technology, and personnel, enhanced coordination with our American partners, and increased resources to stop the flow of fentanyl. Nearly 10,000 frontline personnel are and will be working on protecting the border. In addition, Canada is making new commitments to appoint a fentanyl czar. We will list all cartels as terrorists, ensure 24/7 eyes on the border, launch a Canada-U.S. joint strike force to combat organized crime, fentanyl, and money laundering. I've also signed a new intelligence directive on organized crime and fentanyl, and we'll be backing it with $200 million. Proposed tariffs will be paused for at least 30 days while we work together. The most giga chat thing is Claudia made Trump admit the cartels are only armed because of the American weapons trade. Latinas stay winning. Yeah, Claudia is great. Hasan, famously, when you import something, you're being ripped off. So when you import Indian-made iPhones, the U.S. is being ripped off. I think it's also very funny that they're forcing Canada's hand into like spending money on the most nonsensical bullshit. Like, what is it? It was like 43 kilograms of fentanyl total that was apprehended. And before people say, oh, dude, that's a lot of like lethal doses or whatever. No, it's not. Okay. It's nothing in comparison to the metric ton drugs that are being trafficked over the fucking border in general. Okay. Let alone border apprehensions are not, they're probably not a long-term solution. I just don't understand. Oh, it's 43 pounds, not even 43 kilograms. That's so crazy. That's crazy. To be fair, fentanyl is measured in micrograms, so 43 kilograms is a lot. No, it's 19 kilograms. Is this a L or a W for Trump? It's a secret third thing. It's not an L and it's not a W. It's just like a secret third thing. Okay, that's what it is for Donald Trump. It's not a W because he didn't do shit. He did the classic like create a problem and then simultaneously fix the problem. No problem existed in the beginning. He phrased troops on the border differently than Mexico and are and will be working on protecting the border. Also, with the $1.3 billion on border measures was already decided before. Yeah.
Goods that are coming out of the U.S. and into Canada. We'll see. There's another call, as you mentioned, scheduled with Trudeau later this afternoon. Will there be a turnaround like there was with Mexico, Phil? Wait and see.
All right, Vanessa Yukevich, thanks so much. Joining me now for more on this, former Michigan Congressman and Governor James Blanchard also served as the U.S. ambassador to Canada. Sir, the biggest question right now is this the start of a complete turnaround, or is Donald Trump planning to split this on some level, and Canada is still going to have to face the tariffs? Do you have any insight right now?
No, I think there are people hoping there'll be some sort of deal soon. and work things out. It's harder with Canada because the basis for attacking them it's ridiculous. Trump is accusing them of being a national security threat. That's absurd. We share all intelligence. We've been allies with Canada since World War I. There's minuscule amounts of fentanyl coming in from Canada, and there are more migrants going north to Canada than south from Canada to the U.S. So the basis of all this is absurd. Hopefully it'll get worked out. But if we don't, the prices in Michigan and elsewhere, cost of living on food, cars, automobiles, will go up. It's inflationary. And look, everybody who knows anything about Canada and trade knows what I'm saying is true. Beyond that, though, if we get a deal or a reprieve or something, the long-term damage to our relations with Canada has really, really been severe. This is not the feelings of Canadians. Our best friend, our best partner, our best ally have been really devastated. They're not only hurt, they're at this point angry. It's going to take a lot of time, many months, maybe years, to repair.
Stupid question from a German chatter, me. How serious is fentanyl in the U.S.? Is it actually a scourge on the people? And or is the means proposed to solve it inadequate? The answer to both is yes. It is a massive, massive problem. Opioid overdoses are huge in our country. It is a genuinely devastating force upon the population. And maybe unsurprisingly, the second part of the question, the answer is still yes. Our solutions are inadequate. In the past couple of decades, since fentanyl became like an issue of ginormous importance, the only time fentanyl overdoses have, like opiate overdoses have actually lowered year over year was under the Biden administration, which is ironic because they did it with harm reduction measures. The Republicans constantly complained about it, and also the Biden administration never actually hailed that as a heroic effort. You might have known about the Biden administration harm reduction efforts and their success because you watch me. I've talked about it. The media rarely covered it. The Biden administration did not even choose to do any sort of promotion of that, of these programs, or rather, they did do promotions of these programs, but they never really promoted how successful that was, and it is truly, truly shocking. The people that are most responsible for this, they have names, they have addresses. We know who they are. That's the other side of the story as well. It's the Sacklers, right? Purdue Pharmaceutical is owned by an incredibly wealthy family, and a family of incredibly wealthy people who personally were invested in the trafficking of opiates and the marketing of opiates. They set up think tank, harm reduction facilities, pain management facilities, and greatly overprescribed OxyContin, told doctors to do so. This is the reason why Americans got addicted to heroin. Were they punished? No. Jewish family. I love this notion that it's like, it's the Sacklers are a Jewish family. That's what's most important here. Their religious background. Yeah. When Christian billionaires fuck me over, that's fine because they're Christian. That's what I care about. Good stuff. Nan Goldin got the Sackler name taken off of several museums through protests over their oxy dealings. Okay, but they should be in prison. All right, let's continue.
Damage to our partnership with our trusted ally, Canada, and everyone in Canada watching this knows what I say is true. This is tragic for no reason, no excuse here for us to do this to Canada. And with Mexico, again, you don't want to treat your partners and your neighbors this way. And by the way, it's disgusting to watch Trump constantly threaten Canada and Mexico.
Damn, this guy loves Canada, bro. Why don't you marry it? Okay, calm down. It's disgusting what we've done to our best friend, Canada. It is a ridiculous thing that Donald Trump has done. Make no mistake. To put it in a way foreign chatters can understand, my brother used to go to the walk-in clinic and pretend that he had a sore throat, then walk out with a liquid codeine prescription. It was scary. Easy to get your hands on it. Yeah. I mean, he did it again, man. The mad lad did it. The more I think about it, the funnier it gets. But like Donald Trump used to do this all the time. I guess we forgot where he'd be like, I'm going to shake things up a little bit. And then he would, break something for no reason and then quote unquote seemingly fix it by just reversing the previous decision to break something that didn't have to be, that makes no sense to break. You know what I mean? And the tariff thing just simply did not make sense. Like when I say no reason, seriously? Yes. No reason. Dude, come on. Dude, you think there was a logical reason? Oh God, it's so freaking annoying. The lighting changes are pissing me off. You think there was a valid reason to apply tariffs to 55% of our trade partners? Like our partners that comprise 55% of all trade? Like what's the severe problem? Tariffs have to be hyper specific. They have to be hyper targeted. They have to be done. They have to be applied in a way that benefits domestic manufacturing in a key sector. Okay, you can't just be like, oh, I'm doing like complete trade tariffs, like all tariffs. It doesn't make sense. If you do that for anything but an economic reason, it has to be ginormous. You mean like Canada did? Yeah, no, that's a great example. Canada's counter tariffs are perfectly reasonable because it was a counter tariff. It is a retaliatory tariff. Yes, that is an appropriate way to do tariffs because you're hitting the nuclear option because your psychotic neighbor decided to go after you for no reason whatsoever. So yeah, that is logical because notice how that's a defensive posture there. It's basically to say, hey, we'll make your economy scream as well. We'll make sure that your key businesses are undermined. We'll lower trade from you and we'll go trade with Canada instead. That's it. That makes a lot more sense than being the United States of America who kickstarts the tariffs to begin with. Also, it seemingly worked, you know, considering that Donald Trump backed down and put a pause on the tariffs anyway. So what are you talking about?
In Canada's case, constantly threaten Canada and belittle them as he's moving on.
Like, I love that the impact of the retaliatory tariffs was successful. So successful that it caused Trump to back down. And there are still chatters in here being like, you mean like what Canada did? Your Nixonian madman theory might be right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It just, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.